Thanks for listening to the AZ12 podcast. Arizona takes care of business against Texas Tech. Here's what I want to say first and foremost, everybody. Texas Tech is a good basketball team. Arizona fans always fall into this trap of having to say, that team's not very good. This is a good basketball team that Arizona beat. There's a lot to get into, but you look at it, guys, in the last couple weeks, last couple games, Arizona has really come to play, and defensively, this is kind of the team, and Brogan, you were talking about it in our group chat. This is kind of the team that I think a lot of people were hoping it was going to be before the season, and you're kind of seeing it come into fruition.
Yeah, before the season started, you thought, with Bradley, Love being okay, and Lewis, being a physical defender, you thought we'd have one of the best backcourt defenses in the country. Vaser can block shots off the bench. Awaka's big and physical. We didn't know Townsend was going to be so bad defensively, but this team's identity was going to be more defense than offense, just based on the player kind of profiles. And then you were just going to trust Tommy to score points outside of Love being the offensive guy. But they're on this run of, I think, 13 of the last 14 games they've won, most of them in conference play, maybe all of them. But they're doing it with defense. They're scoring points, obviously, but really they're giving a lot of teams some fits in a lot of these games. And with the exception of the game at Texas Tech, they've stifled some pretty good offenses so far.
Ben?
Yeah, I think defensively they're one of the best teams in the country, right? I mean, it's transitioned to everything else. You're on a 6-game winning streak, and you look like one of the best teams in college basketball right now. I watched a lot of good teams today, saw some upsets here and there, and the way Arizona's played, I mean, they stack up pretty much, I would say, with most teams out there. Granted, you have your Auburns of the world and teams like that, but even that team lost today. So one of the top teams in the Big 12, if not the country, and everything has just kind of come to fruition. To Brogan's point, defensively, they're doing what a lot of us thought they would do early on in the year. And not only that, I mean, this team finds different ways to score and be in these games. I mean, you had 5 guys, right, in double figures today, and that includes somebody like a Caleb Love, who had 16, granted didn't shoot very well, but had a number of good assists and has just played really good on the defensive end. So this team's hitting it on all cylinders. And it's not that they have gotten lucky per se. I think they've really molded into figuring out, okay, we're a good defensive team, and we have guys on this roster that can do a number of different things, and we can beat you in different ways every single night. And you continue to be impressed game after game, because I think you look at these last 6 games, there's not one way that Arizona has won each one of them. It's been different every single time, and that's just a sign of a good basketball team.
All right, let's talk about some guys that we didn't necessarily see occurring. And by the way, $4.99 Super Snap, John Taylor, Milwaukee Eats Baggins. Yes, and we got another $4.99 Super Snap Pugs and Hugs Super Sticker. All right, now, let's talk about a couple things that we didn't see necessarily happening. That front court duo, which I would love to see played more, and I think we saw that it could actually work together. Henry Vaser and Tobe Awaka, when they're in there, it doesn't really matter almost, but Vaser, let's start with Vaser. Vaser is a problem. Vaser is just an issue, from getting rebounds to blocking shots. And every time Toppin tried to go in on him, you could just tell that it's like, that's probably not going your way, buddy. To shooting threes, I mean, he is just an absolute issue out there, and that's certainly not something that I thought that it was going to be.
Well, it's been a while since Arizona's had a big man who, I don't want to overreact, because Henry certainly got his limitations. We saw that, a couple times in the last couple games, but he can block shots. You're not just going to, bump him out of the way and get easy layups. I mean, Toppin had 21 points this game, but it was a tough 21. He had a couple turnovers, things like that, where you could tell that Vaser was giving him a lot of trouble. And so his stat line's a little misleading, but offensively, he hits kind of a tough 3 where he fakes a pass and kind of helps Arizona build some momentum in the first half. And then, he's running to the rim. Like, there's not anything he can't do. But when you think about, like, Krivas getting injured was probably one of the biggest sparks of the season for Arizona, because it got Vaser playing 25-plus minutes a game now. Right. And then, obviously, Awaka has turned into Michael Wright over the last, month or so.
He really has. I mean, yeah.
So, yeah, those two up front, the biggest question mark for Arizona has now become one of their biggest strengths because they're getting consistent scoring, great defense, and it's making their offense go.
Ben?
I think the one thing too, when you look at big men that you've seen recently at Arizona, is how many times do we have the conversation of, okay, this big is effective, but there are limitations. And one of the biggest ones was just being able to run your big off the screen and roll. I mean, defensively, it was an issue at times. And this guy, he moves. Like, you can't push him out of the game in any way, shape, or form. Granted, are there matchups that are going to be tougher for him when you're going up against more athletic guys and bigger guys? Sure. But at the same time, Vesar's shown you, like, defensively, he can hang, and he is a good defender. I mean, he blocks shots, he kind of posts up guys, and vice versa, right? On the offensive end, you lob it to him, he can hit dunks as well. So I think he gives you what you need in that front court, and he doesn't have that one clear flaw that I think a Ballo or a Krivas or any other bigs that we've seen recently have, where you kind of know that's going to be a big problem, long term. But limitation wise, like with him, I don't see anything glaring that's holding Arizona back. And somebody like him is going to get double-digit scoring when he has the matchup advantage. I mean, he was huge today, and he was clearly the player of the game.
All right, now let's go back to that super snap. Bring that back up here. We got a $10 super snap. Michael S., I'm done quantifying and protecting ourselves. We are a good top 10 team in the country, and in the past, we were a top 10 team, and I'm scared to say it. U of A. Totally agree with you. Young Wiz, 99 cents. Hop in there. Yes. All right, Caleb Love. Going into the year, obviously, I think a lot of people were wondering, what's the deal with Caleb Love? What does Arizona really need out of him? And we've talked about this from day one. It's not fair. Nobody's going to sit here and say that Caleb Love is going to be able to string together 6 straight dynamic shooting performances in the NCAA tournament. That's just not his game. But I'll tell you one thing. In this game, this is what I love to see. Because again, the shot wasn't necessarily falling from 3, but he played killer defense. He got into the lane. He had 6 assists. He made his free throws. He attacked the basket. That's what I need. He put a winning performance together while still shooting, 26% from the field. That's what you need out of Caleb Love. And because there's going to be games like that, but he still made enough plays to win, guys.
Look, at some point, we're going to have to consider Caleb Love as the best defender on the team. This is like the 4th game of the last 6 or 7 where he's shutting down the other team's best player, leading scorer. Started with the guy from West Virginia. And then there was one, I can't remember who the other one was 2 games ago. But you're talking about guys who McMillan came into the game averaging 16 points a game, 6th in the Big 12 in scoring, shooting like 47% from 3. And he's pretty much a non-factor in the game. And so the knock on Love early in the season was he was going 4 for 17, 3 for 9. He wasn't shooting the ball well, but he also wasn't, the effort on defense wasn't really there. Now that he's turned up the effort on defense, all of a sudden, Bradley and KJ can now play passing lanes. They can dig down on the post. They can get their hands on a bunch of loose balls because Love is just focused on shutting down the other team's leading scorer, which is weird to say, but it
is what it is, though. It is what it is, and it's cool, though. It's the evolution of a basketball player, and we've talked about this from day one, Ben, is that Caleb Love is a physically talented player. He was blessed with a lot of physical skills that he's taking advantage of right now. It's cool to see. We like it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I didn't see any sort of pivot like this year 4, year 5. The way he plays, I mean, historically, what we're used to, it's been awesome. I mean, it's single-handedly turned the season around for Arizona here in early February in conference play. I mean, again, like to Brogan's point, when he's doing what he does defensively, it's only going to make things easier for him on the offensive end too, right? I mean, I thought today he had a quiet 16 points. That shot was not falling, but he was able to get some easy looks, get to the rim a little bit. So when he's hitting like that, I mean, it's tough to stop Arizona. And I mean, the Iowa State game and some of these other games are a little bit different in the sense that he shot really well, but defensively, when he's locked in, and he's able to stop a McMillan and team's best guards that Arizona faces, it's going to be tough for any opponent. So he's playing like that All-American player that we all thought he would, and he's doing it on an end of the court in defense that I don't think anybody thought he would ever be a quote unquote good or great defender. It's crazy to see.
All right, now let's talk about something that we need to talk about, and this is the elephant in the room, and that is the Green Valley Decorative Rock player of the game. Now, you might say to yourself, Green Valley Decorative Rock. There is a scurrilous rumor going around that they are only in Green Valley. Ben1White, this is not true. They are in Tucson as well. I have been to their location. Check them out. The Green Valley Decorative Rock player of the game, my friend. Again, that is Henry Vasar. Let me ask you this. Is Henry Vasar, I think it's a year away still, but we're talking about a guy that's going to play in the MNBA, correct?
Maybe. I mean, I feel a lot better about that today
Than you did before the season?
Yeah. Since Skier's not with us, I'm going to hedge it. I still don't know if he's athletic enough for the NBA. And the NBA is getting smaller, not bigger. So, yeah, the fact that he's 7 foot helps. He can block shots. If he gets a little more consistent from three, can I see him as a rotation guy off the bench? Maybe. But can he guard fours in the NBA? No chance. So that's where I kind of am a little hesitant.
But if Filipowski's in the NBA.
Yeah, I was right.
He's as athletic as Filipowski. He's more athletic than Filipowski.
I was right about him, though, by the way.
No, he sinks. But he's still in the But he's in the NBA, though. That's my point.
Started tonight. Right, started tonight, actually.
Oh, Brett Celia, $9.99 Super Snap. Back to the A. Appreciate you, Brett. All right, go ahead, Brogan.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if he's in the NBA. I won't be surprised if he's not, Yeah.
Ben1White, I see you having very firm opinions on this.
If he can be a double-digit scorer every game, or at least sniff that and continue to do what he's doing, he'll get a shot, I think.
Right. Oh,
I don't know if he'll last, but he'll get a shot.
Oh, let's see here. This is so wrong. Brian Tassel, Mike's worst take is that Henry sucks. Oh, I've had way worse takes than that. Come on, man. I've got way worse takes. We're not going to talk about those takes, but I've had way worse takes than that. You can do a lot better than that. But yes, that was a bad take. Also, so that's your Green Valley Decorative Rock player of the game, Henry Vasar. He's just a difference. I mean, he's just a difference maker. When he, the other thing about him too is that, and this is the one thing that I did like about him, I didn't really like anything else about his game before, but he does have a natural ability to block shots, and that's something you either have or you don't. Like DeAndre Ayton didn't have an ability to block shots. He should have been able to block 5 or 6 a game. He didn't have that ability. Christian Koloko could block shots. Henry Vasar could block shots. He could alter shots. That is what's just awesome about this. Michael S. Guy on the right just did the worst hedge ever. You're being called a hedgehog, John Brogan. You are being called a hedgehog. What say you, my friend? He's like, deal with it. Yeah. What
happens to the best of us?
Yes. Now, Ben1White,
what I would say, though, is Henry has sucked more in his career at Arizona than he's been good.
That is true. That is true. Young Wiz, 199. How can we keep Carter for another year? We're going to get to that. Ben1White. All right, now let's talk a little bit then about where this team's 11-1 at this time. You got to say that they are squarely on the 4 line with an upward trajectory at this point. No, I mean, you got Kansas State, you got Houston, and I'll be honest with you. If Arizona beats Houston, I think they're winning the conference. But we'll find out, because 11-1 is a pretty impressive road to hoe already.
Yeah, and you look at the schedule, right? I mean, Houston and Kansas, but outside of that, I mean, and Iowa State, that's going to be tough too. But outside of those 3, I mean, those should all be winnable games for Arizona. Granted, some of them are on the road and anything could happen. But yeah, I mean, you're in the driver's seat to win this conference, no doubt about it.
All right, one thing we got to talk about, and Grant McCaslin, by the way, basically said this. He said that, and I don't have the exact quote, but this is from Sheer. McCaslin said that Arizona is basically better without Townsend, mostly because the lineup combinations they play without him. Here's where I'm at with Townsend. I'm fine with Townsend for 10 minutes a game. I think we've seen, though, that when you play him 20 minutes per game, that's just way too much. Listen, even when a guy like Carter doesn't play well, you know that Carter has upside Carter can bring. I'm okay with playing Townsend 10 minutes per game. I can't play Townsend any more than that. So when he comes back, yeah, I'm cool with the depth. But it's a Waka, Bryant, and Vasar up front. Those are the guys that need to get the lion's share of the minutes, people. What say you?
Well, the biggest difference is even tonight, Carter having a average game, bad game. I don't know if I want to say a bad game, but he's still out there impacting the game. He's rebounding. He's getting hands on balls. He's doing enough to where you notice him impacting the game, whereas Townsend could be out there for 7 minutes and you may not notice he's out there. That's a problem. So I'm with you. They need Townsend for depth. They can't afford to play 7 guys for the next, 10 weeks or whatever heading to the tournament. They need another guy to be able to play. But at this point, Carter's got to get the majority of the minutes at over Townsend at the 4 for sure, and then they can mix it up with the bigs in there at the same time and cover the minutes.
Ben1White, what happened to you?
What happened to me?
We can barely see you, Ben. It looks like you're coming in like in those like Zapruder film.
Interesting.
You're very blurry.
I don't know, but to Brogan's point though about Townsend, I mean, to me, he's just there to kind of relieve Bryant if there's foul trouble, right? I mean, we have seen that tendency, and you have seen it throughout the year. But look, Arizona's going to roll with the lineup that gives them the best chance to win, and even if he's in that starting lineup per se, Townsend, I think at this point it's fair to say that 10 to 15 minutes a game is what you're looking for. I mean, you have seen Lloyd move him to the bench throughout this stretch, and you've seen things tighten up. So I don't see why the lineup of Bryant and Owaka and Vesar and all those guys you have, why that wouldn't continue at this point in the year. I mean,
okay,
it's working.
Now our good friend Jeremiah Dibble with a $1.99 super snap. John Brogan, did you have anything to say to Mr. Jeremiah Dibble? Here's your chance. Here's your chance. We very much like Jeremiah Dibble.
I thought he liked fantasy football. Apparently I was wrong.
Hands on balls, John Brogan. All right, good stuff in here. Good stuff. We very much like both of these guys. All right, now let's talk a little bit about now what this means. Kansas State. Here's where I'm at. I know that this is a cliche. I know this is a cop out, but this is one game. This is a one game at a time type situation here. Kansas State's going to be a tough one. There's no. I mean, you saw what they did to Kansas. I think Kansas kind of stinks. I do think that Arizona is going to end up beating Kansas. Yeah, you know what? I am going to say that. But Kansas State's a tough one. Either way, you beat Kansas State, you're 12-1. You get Houston coming back then at that point. I know, again, like in the Pac-12, you know what's so weird about this and how much different it is and what a juxtapose it is? In the Pac-12, you would look ahead at the schedule and you'd be like, okay, there's 5 straight games that I don't even have to tune into because they're going to be every single one of these matters. And these ones, armor sharpens armor, my friends. This is the kind of game. This had an Elite 8 level feel to it. It just did.
Yeah, I think the issue I have is Kansas State. If you look at the advanced metrics, they're showing up super well in a lot of those. It's a road game. That game makes me more nervous than the Houston game at home. If for some reason we get past Kansas State and then we beat Houston, we'll have a 2-game lead on Houston at that point. And then we only got to win half the games coming in, essentially, and that's assuming Houston doesn't lose another one. So if we get through these 2 games, I almost don't know how Arizona doesn't win the conference without losing 3 or 4 in a row. But the Tuesday game, I can't remember who I was talking to earlier today or yesterday, but I was way more nervous about Tuesday than tonight. Tonight, from the minute the line came out, I was like, this is an easy one for Arizona.
Right.
But Tuesday, I'm probably betting Kansas State Tuesday, if I'm being honest. And that line's going to be Kansas State even money, maybe Kansas State -1. It's going to be a funky line, which is going to suggest that we should hammer Kansas State.
All right, super snaps. Let's get back to them real quick. $4.99 super snap from Brett Seeley. My son wanted to get $4.99 for his girth. Very much appreciate that. Oh, a $5 one. Michael S. Can we all take a minute, take a moment and feel bad for Dickie V calling a Duke bust? I hate Duke and it hurt me a little as a man. You know, that also shows me too that it's also kind of at the end of the day, that also shows you that it's also human at the same time, though. Like, I thought it was kind of cool. I don't particularly like Dick Vitale as a commentator. I never really did. But I thought it was cool seeing him back after 2 years of cancer. It just kind of puts things in perspective, I think. Robert Magnuson, 11-1 in the Big 12 feels way better than 11-1 in the Pac-12. Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Ben1White, what are your thoughts on that Kansas State game coming up? Because that does feel like a trap.
Yeah, I think if you look at the next 4 games, I get that we have Houston at home. You go to Baylor. You have BYU again, who you just saw. I think that's going to be a toss-up either way. And if it's a game that Arizona loses, I don't think it's reason for concern because I think it'll be a game where it's a single possession, maybe a possession or two, something fluky happens. I don't see Arizona getting, run in double digits or anything by that means. So I think it's a game that, you could definitely write it off as a loss, but to me, it's not really cause for concern. I mean, you're on a 6-game win streak. You have a clear lead in the Big 12 here. So nothing that I'm too terribly concerned about.
All right. We're at the point now with KJ Lewis where it's clear to say that Jaden Bradley. Jaden Bradley is the best point guard here since TJ McConnell, and I don't even know that it's close. He is just everything he does. And I don't know how he does this, but he keeps doing it. I know people don't like Dick Vitale. I don't like him as a commentator either. I'm just saying that I thought it was cool as a human to see somebody that's battling cancer for 2 years get back out there. That's all.
And no matter what with Dickie V, he's still great he's been awesome for the game of basketball. And so from an ambassador standpoint, you have to appreciate that. We can all hate him because we know he's loyal to only Duke, but he's still good for basketball. And he still came back from cancer. And if you watched any of that, the start of the game, everybody was pretty emotional because he was back calling the game. It was a cool moment for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was. Now let's talk Jaden Bradley, though. Jaden Bradley is just a rock. Jaden Bradley is the guy that you watch him, and he is just he's just different, man. I don't know what else to say. In that he goes about his business. You very rarely see him. How do I put this? Like, look out of place, look flustered. He's just good. And I don't know how he does this. And we keep talking about it. Every game, he's good for 2 layups a game where he just runs past the entire defense and gets a layup. I don't know how this isn't on the scouting report. And I don't know how this happens, but it continues to happen.
Yeah, there's like a play or two every single game, right? Where that happens or he forces a steal and it's so perfect, the timing of it, and nobody sees it, and he catches everybody off guard, and he gets to the rim. And then there's always a play or two, too, right, where the defense totally loses him, and he hits like a wide-open 3. So now he's crafty, man. I mean, he scores in so many different ways, whether it's getting to the rim, hitting in the mid-range, he can't hit a 3 or 2. And there were stretches tonight where I think he did hit a couple, and things look good. I would like to see more of that. But at the same time, I mean, he's not somebody who's just going to chug up shots left and right. He's going to initiate, run the offense, get the ball to Love, get the ball inside, more importantly, which we saw today. So, no, he's a perfect point guard for Arizona. And I think he sets the tone defensively for what they're trying to do, right? I mean, early on in the year, it was definitely fair to say that Arizona was not a good defensive team, but he was that one constant. And over time, it kind of molded into Love and all these other guys. And now Arizona is one of the best defensive teams in the country. And I would say a big part of that is because of him.
Now, let me ask you this. All the people that, this always cracks me up. And this has been kind of a pet peeve of mine for a long time. All the people that were saying that Tommy Lloyd isn't the guy, that he doesn't really know what he's doing, they kind of have just gone away. You haven't really seen any of these people. And I'm going to keep saying this. If Tommy Lloyd were to hit the open market, he would absolutely be the top priority for about any school in the country looking for a coach. It's a protein bar. That's just the way it is. He's a beast. And sure, is he perfect? No, there's certainly some things that I don't necessarily understand. But at the end of the day, he's 11-1 on a team that looked like pretty much everybody left for dead. He knows what he's doing, guys.
Well, and he doesn't like Tommy. This year, he had a little bit of trouble figuring out the lineup combinations and things of that nature. But the tournament was good for him because it forced him to think about playing Carter more. It forced them to think about KJ going to the bench. Krivas going down forced him to play Vaser more. So, once he kind of figured out what the rotation looks like, now the team's rolling. And the thing with Lloyd is from a pure X's and O's standpoint, he's going to have a couple clunker games like Duke where they score 54 points and they're going to lose. But by and large, they're going to score 80 to 85 points in pretty much almost every other game. And so as long as you can get his team to play defense, they can run off a bunch of wins in a hurry. And I mean, we were talking about this last week. Arizona, when Lute left, they went through Russ Pennell, they went through Mike Dunlap, they went through Kevin O'Neill. But they ended up with Sean Miller, who was a big-time mid-major coach. But who they weren't getting? They weren't getting Roy Williams. They weren't getting Bill Self. maybe they almost had Calipari, but whatever. They weren't getting Billy Donovan, right? So Tommy Lloyd is about the right level for what Arizona typically gets. And he's winning like he should win at Arizona. I mean, he's, in 3 years, he's going to win a ton of games. In 4 years, he's going to win even more. And so it's like, if you treat the Arizona job as you have to win a title or get a Final Four in your first year or 2 or 3, then everybody's going to fail at Arizona, every single coach ever. And so if you give Lloyd 6, 7, 8 years and then judge him, I think he'll be pretty happy because he's going to win about 200 games and he's probably going to make it to Elite Eight or a Final Four like Miller did.
Ben?
Yeah, I mean, like anything, it takes time, right? I mean, you look at some of these other programs that have hired new coaches. I mean, nobody is catching fire right away. Granted, I will say this, Mike, your boy Rick Pitino. That's
I was right about that guy.
that's quite the turnaround and quite a quick turnaround, but we'll see what happens there. But no, I mean, Lloyd, again, right? You talk about the win streak, you talk about what's happened. My answer always is, okay, if you're not happy with him, what is the alternative? What is the replacement? What is the better answer? And there's not one. I mean, look at what the guy's done with somebody like Caleb Love. I mean, we were talking about what he's doing defensively. He's one small example. I think the list goes on and on from the time that Lloyd came in here. You look at the development and the progression of all these players, whether it's a freshman, somebody coming in, or somebody who's been in college basketball a long time as a transfer coming in. For the most part, I'd say, 75 to 80% of his guys have not only hit, but they've gotten better. I mean, to me, what's the one miss? Maybe Townsend, maybe a couple other guys, but by and large, every player he comes in, he hits on, and they get better. And this team is going to get there. It's just a matter of time.
All right, now, everybody's asking about the John Calipari thing. John Calipari was basically at a verbal agreement with Jim Livengood back in, I think it was 2008, that he was going to take over after Russ Pennell. But what happened was the Kentucky job came open. Billy, was it Billy Gillespie or Billy Eustace? What was his name?
Gillespie, right?
Yeah, Billy Gillespie. Who is Billy Eustace?
No, Larry Eustace was the old Iowa State coach that was hanging out with
Billy
the college
Eustace.
girl.
Yeah, same thing. He was, yeah, that's right. He was supposed to take over, though, and he was going to bring John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Eric Bledsoe with them, and guess what? The Kentucky job came open. He's like, well, but either way. So then Sean Miller was offered the job after like 3 other bums turned it down, like Jim Boylan and Tom Floyd and things like that. And then he, where were you laughing at?
Tim Floyd, not Tom Floyd.
Or Tim Floyd, whatever. Yeah, same guy. And then Sean Miller turned it down, and then John Calipari called him and told him that you should take that job. There you go. Just take it there for what it is worth. What happened to Ben1White? Oh, either way, Ben's reception sucks. All right, now $4.99 Super Snap. Bring that back up, Cody James Martin. Let's see, what do we got here? Caleb and KJ talking their shit. Help hype me up. Would also love to see Mike and Cheer do a podcast while stoned. I might be able to do that. But in the meantime, though, we also got to get to something else. Though Ben has a ghost. All right, that that looks much better. All right, let's bring Ben1White back in. Let's see. Yes. All right, there you go, Ben. Well, it still stinks, but who cares? All right, now let's get to the RJ's moment of the game. All right, let's get to the RJ's moment of the game. What do we got here? What do you guys? RJ's Frozen Cactus moment of the game. I am going to go. Am I shaking, or is it just something that I see? I don't know. Since Ben came back,
I think it's just you. Yeah.
All right. Well, what are you guys' moment of the game? What do you got?
For me, the play that keeps replaying in my head is when Bradley gets the ball on the wing, and what's the point guard? Hawkins is like guarding him and kind of bodying him. So Bradley just turns the corner down the right side of the lane, pushes him under the basket, reminiscent of when Mike and I were playing in the City League, and then just lays it in. But it was kind of a summary of the game in my mind because Arizona was physical. And this is like 4 games in a row where Arizona's been clearly the more physical team. This one was against a Texas Tech team who plays pretty physical as well. And it's been rare. You wouldn't have ever said it about a Tommy team. Is like, wow, this team's physical. They're going to be the team that's going to be pushing people around and slapping and hacking and all those things. And the rest in the Big 12 this year, letting them kind of get away with it. But it's turned up their defense in a big way. But for me, the moment of the game was Bradley punking the little guard from Texas Tech. What about you, Ben?
I would agree with that. And I would say that every Vasar dunk was the moment of the game for me. So just right off the bat, I mean, you saw early on he was going to get involved, and you love to see it, man. We were all wrong about Henry. We were all
yeah,
wrong.
we are. Yeah, we are. Dude, am I still shaking?
No, you're
Oh, I'm
normal
not
to
still
us.
shaking. Okay, cool. All right. Well, then I look
No,
good then.
you're not
That's all I
shaking.
want to hear.
No,
What's
you don't
that?
look good, but you're normal.
All right, yeah, well, it doesn't matter to me then. Yeah, at that point then. But that's my moment of the game. I totally agree with you as well. And every single time too, and I'm going to say this, Tobe Awaka has basically every single moment of the game for me. Every time a team gets close, this guy gets rebounds, puts them right back up, he scores, and that's something that I didn't think was going to happen. That's not something I thought was going to really be the I thought he was going to get some rebounds, throw some bows. He has turned into a very, very dynamic offensive performer, and that he can put his head down, go right at the rim, and he generally scores. That's not something that I thought that we were going to be seeing there, guys.
Well, we've been used to Ballo not be able to catch a pass, not be able to make a tough contested layup. He would do the high-low dunk, easy layup, all those things. But Awaka's able to put his head down, take a dribble or two, initiate contact, create a little separation, and finish, which is something we haven't seen since. I mean, he's not the same player as Tubelis, but finishing in traffic, Tubelis was really good at. But Awaka gives Arizona kind of an advantage offensively because they get easy buckets when he's able to get an offensive rebound or one or two dribbles, create some space, and get some putbacks.
Now, did you see him becoming this? And let me ask you this. We always talk about Koa Pete, and obviously you want to get Koa Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Also, by the way, probably doing well with some other recruits. That's all I'll leave with. But even if you don't get Koa Pete, and you definitely want Koa Pete, I am definitely at the point now where I would prefer Braden Burries, just because I've already got two guys up front that I know what I have. I've got Tobe Awaka. I've got Henry Vasar. Again, I'd love to have Koa Pete, but if I can have Braden Burries, Jaden Bradley, and like say Carter Bryant, or I could have Jaden Bradley, some transfer that I don't know about, and then Carter Bryant or KJ Lewis with Koa Pete up front, I think I would rather go in the other direction and have the guard. What do you think?
Carter Bryant's the wild card for me.
Patrick, that was a hedge.
Exactly. If Carter Bryant's back, then that makes Pete a little less necessary. Let's assume Carter's going pro.
Mm-hmm.
Then I want Pete more than Burries because I know I can get a portal guard who can really play. I don't know that I can get a dynamic power forward portal player that can impact the game. Yeah, I've got people up front, but I know I can go get potentially the next Caleb Love.
Well, let me ask you this then.
That backcourt spot.
Well, do you know that you can get somebody, though, like that you have in Awaka at this point then? Because Awaka and Vasar next year, I mean, that's a pretty loaded front court.
Right, but what I don't want to rely on next year is KJ Lewis, Jaden Bradley, a freshman in Braden Burries, who I don't know if he can score, Awaka, who's not a scorer but can score some points, Vasar, who's not a scorer but can score some points. Like that offensively, that's a clunky lineup, whereas I know Koa can score. If Townsend can average 8 or 9 points a game by standing there, then Koa's 15 and 8 as soon as he shows up. So, I'm simply Arizona's need for a secondary ball handler is a big thing. So that's where Burries is important to me. But I feel like I can get that guy in the portal a lot easier than I can get Koa in the portal. So
yeah, I would agree with that. Now, it's being asked, will Jaden Bradley test the NBA waters? I don't know that Jaden.
Yes, and he should.
And he should, yeah. I don't know that Jaden Bradley is an NBA player, but I also don't know that he won't be on an NBA roster. Listen, when you've got he doesn't feel to me like an NBA player, but when you watch how he plays defensively, when you watch how he can, run a team without being a pure point guard, I'm not sure that he can't, though, at this point, to be honest with you. And I know that's a big hedge.
Yeah, I mean, he'll test the waters and he'll get some feedback. I don't think he leaves for the draft this year by any means. I don't think there's nearly any chance for that. But he's a winning basketball player. So I think of him like I think about TJ heading into the league. Do you want to have a guy at the end of your bench who you can put in the game and potentially play as a spark plug off the bench, who's not going to turn the ball over? He's going to get you some easy buckets. He's going to keep everybody involved. He's going to play hard on defense. Those guys usually find a way to make it to the NBA.
Yeah. So, and again, he's become more of a scorer. I do win on Jaden Bradley. I told you he'd be a 13, 14 point per game guy.
Yeah, Jaden Bradley's awesome. No doubt about
Yeah.
it. He's not
All right.
first team All-American, but he's awesome.
Yeah. Oh. Now let's talk KJ Lewis here for a second. KJ Lewis is with KJ Lewis, I just need him when he plays to his strengths, he's awesome. I don't know what else to say. Well, when he's getting downhill, when he's finishing, the one thing that I just can't have him do is try to dribble the ball around the perimeter. That doesn't work. That always feels like it's about a turnover that's about to happen. But he can finish defensively. And you know what's weird about him too? He seems to at opportune times make a three, get a pull up that you don't think would really happen, that you generally don't think would happen. He's kind of, when he's playing to his strengths, guys, he's a winning basketball player. And I'm going to give him a little bit of slack off some of those layups, because at the same time, you could tell that wrist was clearly bothering him. So I'm not going to really beat him up for that. But again, I mean, he's another one, man. You're happy to have him. I'll put it to you like that.
You're going to get tweeted at again if you're not careful.
Well, you know what's wild about me getting tweeted at about him is that if he Shear's the one that dislikes him every time, every single game. Shear, here we go again. I'm the one that likes him, which is the wild part about that. But whatever.
Yeah, here's where I'm at with KJ is, and this is going to be a really long-winded answer, but he plays so hard, I don't mind the mistakes. Because when there's a rebound that people are trying to get their hands on, he's in there mixing it up and he's tipping it to another guy to get a rebound and things of that nature. And so I can live with a couple turnovers. He also has 5, 6, 7 assist games because he's creating and making plays. And tonight he had a couple big shots when Texas Tech cut the lead to 6, 5, 7. The game was getting kind of close. He made a couple big shots. But the biggest point to KJ is in the chat, in the comments, it's KJ's, didn't have a great game, didn't play, kind of had a bad game, whatever. When you watch it, if you're not watching careful enough, you think he had a bad game. Then you look at the box score and he had 15 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, an assist and a steal. Yeah, 4 turnovers, but he was 6 for 10 from the field. So if that's KJ's bad game, then he's one of the best players in the country, because his good game is 27 and 4 and he's shooting 80% from the field. Like KJ played a really, really good game. Did he have some stupid turnovers and miss an easy layup? Sure. But he had a pretty good game.
Yeah. And Ben, these are the kind of guys you win with in the Big 12. Andy and Cindy Laurie, you beat me to it. This is the kind of guy that you win with in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, you need a versatile wing that can guard a number of different positions and also score. And he sets the tone for them when it comes to that. He plays hard. He's locked in. Yeah, there are going to be head-scratching moments every single game. But to Brogan's point, you kind of just live with it, right?
Yeah.
Because the scoring's there. The forced turnovers are there. The steals are there. I mean, there's not a lot of things that he can't do when he gets going on both ends. And 15 and 6, 15 and 8, 10 and 9, he can even flirt with those double-digit rebounds. Granted, you don't see a lot of that, but again, just his impact on the floor on both ends is so important for this team. And ever since he's played better, him and Love locking in on both ends, I think, has been the difference, right? Because somebody like him, he would maybe lose his confidence or take some ill-advised shots and kind of play out of his element, I feel like, early in the year, whereas you don't see any of that now. And I think he's built up some thick skin, right? When he makes some mistakes, he doesn't let it get to him. He continues to stay out there and play hard. Whereas before, you'd see some mistakes and his game would kind of spiral out of control to an extent. But now you don't see any of that. He's locked in and this team needs him.
Yes. Let's see here. Nifty Cello. What did Nifty Cello ask? I don't know. I don't know what Nifty Cello asked. I very much like Nifty Cello. Lost Highway is responding, so it's probably something sticking up for Trey. I don't know what it is though. Nifty Cello, get that back in there. I like Nifty Cello. But either way, also, can we talk a little bit about the big men development here under Tommy Lloyd? That's something that I think is super, super underrated. And listen, Henry Vasar, Tobe Awaka. I talked about this with Rhino. Keyshawn Johnson, Umar Ballo. Look at Umar Ballo too when he moved on. Sometimes, not quite as good as when he was at Arizona. Then you look at a Christian Coloco, et cetera, et cetera. he's done a really, really good job of big men development overall. Now, again, there's been a couple misses, but overall, guys, he's done a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, I mean, with big men, they typically come in and they look a lot more like Steven does than they look like, insert, Cooper Flag, for instance. And so they typically take more time. And so you've got to really be able to develop bigs to kind of keep that pipeline going. I think from a big man standpoint, we talk about this a little bit. I would like to see Tommy always having one really athletic big. For now, it's sort of Vaser. It'll be Steven, but he needs to keep kind of a pipeline of athletic bigs going that he can work on the skill work with, because we know he can develop. And then the front court becomes really dangerous. Guards typically come in really, really skilled. You're not going to teach a guard how to dribble. You're not going to teach a guard how to shoot when they get to college. But with big men, you can teach a lot of different things, even when they're 18, 19 years old. And I think you're seeing that with the bigs that Arizona's got.
Yeah, I mean, he's just done a really good job at this, Ben1White, and I think that's something that we got to really give him credit for.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Ballo, Coloco, all those guys have gotten significantly better. And I think Kribis is like that one guy where you look at him and think, okay, there are some limitations, but Vaser has certainly proven us wrong. I mean, Tommy Lloyd sat there for months and months, ever since Vaser has kind of come into the equation and said, listen, this kid can play. He can do more than you think. And he's proven us wrong. So I think not only the bigs, I mean, across the board, positions 1 through 5, the development, I think, is there with everybody.
Yeah, no soft weenies, though. I want to get to that here in just a second. Now, Casey Kennedy says, any Tupac ambitions as a writer? So many battlefield scars while driven in plush cars. It's life as a rap star is nothing without. I was born rough and rugged, dressed in the mad bucket. My attitude is... I'll leave it at that. There we go. There we go. That was very good. You know what's weird for me on my screen? Once Ben hops back in, me and Brogan are just shaking, and Ben1White looks like he's totally fine. I do not like this, but that's how much we like Ben1White. Now, the toughness, though. This is definitely Tommy's toughest team. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Is it his best team? Who knows? But it's definitely his toughest team. And guys, I don't even think it's close. I mean, you look up and down the board. There's only two. I don't like swearing. There's only two guys on this team that I think you could look at and say those aren't tough guys. And that's obviously ADO and that's Trey. Everybody else, though, Jane Bradley, tough. Caleb Love, tough. KJ Lewis, tough. Tobe Awaka, girth, tough. Henry Vaser, tough. KJ Lewis, if I already said him. Carter Bryant. These are all tough dudes. And in the past, I don't think that you could have said that about some of Tommy's teams.
Well, it starts with the guard play, right? Tommy had to deal with Boswell and Kerr. And so, like, the leader of your team is essentially one of the softer players. And Kerr was all talk. Boswell didn't talk, but he fired up air balls when, times got tough. And so Bradley and KJ, I think, changed the dynamic of the team because they're physically tough players. And even Caleb isn't afraid of the moment. He's not going to back down. Like, he's all about it. And so when you've got those tone setters, it's easier for everybody else or the majority of the team to be that guy. And then they brought in Awaka for this exact reason. I don't think they thought Vaser was going to be as, to play with such a chip on his shoulder like he does. And so they brought Awaka in so you get more toughness up front. And pretty soon the majority of the team's tough. And one thing I've appreciated, and I'm hoping this pays dividends in the tournament. What I hope doesn't happen is we get to the tournament and the officiating totally flips on its ear and we get called for 100 fouls in the first half. But the Big 12 officiating has been letting these teams play physical all conference play. Overly physical to the point where you're looking at the screen like, man, they're not calling any fouls. And then they call a hand check on the perimeter. You're like, what is that? You just let 4 slaps to the head go. But Arizona's understanding that and taking advantage of it by just being the more physical team for like the last 9 games. And they're actually putting teams on their heels with their physicality, and it's creating an advantage for them out there.
Ben?
That's how they're winning games, right? I mean, they are the more physical team. They do lead with defense first. And I think it goes back to, you look at this roster. I mean, there's nobody on the team that kind of puts their foot down and says, well, I don't do that. I'm here to score. I'm here to do this. I'm here to do that. I think this team is very selfish. They want to play together. They have a clear goal in mind. And, you talk about culture, you talk about winning and all of that. And it comes down to, what your guys have in that locker room. Like, what's your mission? And I think this team's mission is all the same, right? It's to win, go as far in the tournament as possible. Whereas you've had guys in the past, whether it's Boswell, Creasa, just other names out there where you could tell it was all about that player, right? And there were things that they just weren't willing to do. And I think the buy-in wasn't quite there towards Lloyd when it comes to maybe defensively tightening some things up or just adding things to the game outside of scoring. In other words, I don't think there's anybody on this team that's just like, hey, you need to get me the ball. I'm looking to get mine. And you got to give Caleb Love a ton of credit for that, because historically, has he been that guy at North Carolina and some other places? Yeah, he has. But coming into Arizona, that hasn't been the case. And he's somebody who is totally cool with impacting the game on the defensive end, creating a number of different opportunities for guys with his assist numbers if that shot isn't falling. And it could very well be the opposite. I mean, he could be a guy who wants to shoot the ball nonstop, even if it's not falling, and that would hurt the rest of the team. But that just hasn't been the case. And I think that speaks for everybody on the roster, not just him. They want to play together and they want to win. And even if that means sacrificing.
You know what? That's a great point, Ben. It also feels like this team is a lot more, how do I put this? This team just feels a lot more cohesive in a weird, like, I'm not saying last year's team wasn't, but this team feels like it's very much of a team that is like, they all pick each other up. Everybody is going for each other. It feels like a unit where everybody's kind of on the same page. And I don't know that, again, I'm not saying that last year that was the case, but this feels like it's got a little bit more camaraderie. John Brogan, do you disagree with me?
I don't disagree. I think winning cures a lot of ills. I think when they were losing, Love looked disinterested. KJ was yelling at everybody, coaches, refs, players. So I don't know that I'm like totally on board with like this team loves each other and they're falling for Tommy's we're all about love here at Arizona lines. I think winning has brought them really close together, but let's see what happens if they lose a couple games, if they start going back into where they were at the beginning of the season. I do think that they understand how to play together now. And I do think that, like, you see Caleb Love diving on the ball for loose, like diving on the floor for loose balls regularly now, which I don't know that you would have saw at the beginning of the season or even last year. And again, that's the thing where when our best player, probably getting paid the most money, first team All-American, like when he's hustling like that stuff becomes contagious for the rest of the guys. So I do think they like playing for each other. I do think they like each other. But it's different now when they're winning, I guess.
My guy Prim on Twitter says, John Brogan is awesome on Iron Mike Luke's podcast. My thoughts exactly most of the time. There you go. John Brogan fan club.
It's at John Brogan 1290 if you want to follow him.
John Brogan 1290, Insider John Brogan 1290. We'll have to bring those insider segments back. Okay, now we've got let's see here. We've got the Eris Dental look ahead here. Now, Kansas State. What do we think that this line is going to be? Kansas State -2?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it'll be higher than that. Maybe it's closer to even or -1, but I can't decide if I like the fact that they beat Kansas or not. Could they have used up all their juice for that game? And do they, does Arizona get to come in where they're kind of riding high because they just won a big rivalry game? Or would we rather them have lost and been a little irritated and try to get back on track at home? I think it's good they won.
I think it's good they won. I'm going to go on record and say I think it's good they won.
But Kansas State is definitely one of the sleeper teams in the Big 12 that people don't know enough about, that they're winning a bunch of games. Everybody expects Baylor and Kansas and Iowa State and Houston, and now we certainly know about Texas Tech. But Kansas State's the next team in the Big 12 as far as like talent, who they can win. Go ahead.
Hey, Dick Wilson. Who was better at basketball? You or Dick Wilson growing up on the mean streets of Benson, John Brogan?
Did you just ask Dick Wilson who was better, him or himself?
No, John Brogan. Who's better, you or bad? John Brogan grew up in the ghetto of Benson. Which when you were on the streets on the corner?
I just want to. This is where I get to mention that Green Valley Decorative Rock goes north, south, east, and west to Benson.
To Benson, yes, they deliver out there. Yes, and if
they
you
go
get a
all
ton
directions
of stuff
to Benson.
Yes, and if you get a
Dick,
ton of stuff, yeah, go ahead.
Dick Wilson and I were different. We were different eras. He's a little older than I am.
Okay. Also, now with Eris Dental, though, they've got a very good thing going on. We're teasing this, but they've got a very good special coming on that I'll just put it to you like this. You are going to want to know this. It's very good. Hopefully, we will be bringing it up this week. Guarantee it. Now, $4.99 Super Snap, TJ Van Martyr. Are we starting to figure out our new Big 12 rivals are? You know, it's a good question. I don't know.
I think there's two. There's ASU that'll never go away, and it's
Right.
Kansas.
Yeah.
Nobody else in the Big 12. Houston's really good. Baylor's really good. Nobody has the history that Arizona has besides Kansas.
John, you're my guy, but the Boswell stuff, you got to stop with it. Boswell's shooting 23% from three, and he's shooting 36% from the field. Jaden Bradley is a much better basketball player. That's I'll leave it at that. And you're my guy, John, but we definitely disagree on that one. Ben1White, looking ahead now, you got Kansas State and you got Houston. Let me ask you this. If Arizona beats Kansas State and they beat Houston, can we start talking about Arizona possibly getting into that 2 line? Because you're going to be flirting with the top 10 at that point. You're going to be knocking on that top 10 door.
I think you can if you win maybe another high profile game. I think at that point it's a 3 line for sure. But yeah, I mean, if Arizona is able to get into that top 10 range, it definitely becomes a possibility. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but is it certainly possible with the way this team is playing right now? Yeah. Going back to the Kansas State thing, I agree with you. I think it's good that they beat Kansas. I also think it's good that they beat Iowa State pretty convincingly, right? Granted, that was about a week or so ago. So you probably look at Arizona and think, okay, well, we were able to beat Iowa State. We were able to beat Kansas. How hard can this U of A game be, right? So maybe that's the mentality on their end. But again, either way, it's going to be a close game. And if Arizona loses, I'm not faulting them for it. But it's certainly a game where you look at and you think, okay, with the way both these teams have played, it's kind of a wild card because both teams have had success. They've upset teams that a lot of people didn't necessarily think they would upset in the fashion that they did. And yeah, it's just kind of right timing in that sense.
Here's what I think the goal is. I think the goal in the next 3 games, if I'm not mistaken, you've got Kansas State on the road, you got Houston, and then you got Baylor on the road. Am I right?
You've got Kansas State, Houston at home, and at Baylor. Yes, you're correct.
Okay. I think the goal needs to be 2-1. Now, if you go 3-0, cool. But I think the goal needs to be 2-1. I mean, if you can get, because again, those are 3 tough games. If you can go 2-1 in that, I think you got to feel really, really good about where you are because that's a tough stretch right there.
Well, and if Arizona beats Houston,
Bobcat, hold on just a second. No, I'm
then
not.
They finish the season with at Baylor, at Kansas.
Just a second, Bobcat. I'm making fun of the term MNBA, dude. Trust me. Settle down a little bit. I'm making fun of that term. I am not calling it that now. Gosh, this is a long-running joke. Yes,
I'm reading the barf comment. Yeah, he thinks you're serious.
It's a joke. Okay, now go ahead. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Mike's a little woke, but he's not MNBA woke.
No.
So let's assume Arizona beats Kansas State and they beat Houston. Then they've got at Baylor, at Iowa State, at Kansas. Let's just assume they beat BYU, Utah, and ASU at home. Let's assume they win all of those. Those should be easy wins. Mm-hmm. They've only got to win one of those road games to basically lock up the Big 12 at that point because you'll have the tiebreaker with Houston. And so, well, you'll have to win 2 of those if Houston goes undefeated, but Houston's got tough road games as well. If Arizona wins the Big 12, it's going to be impossible for them to not be at least a 3 seed, and they're probably looking at a 2 seed, even though they'll still have like 8 losses. But can you imagine the winner of the Big 12, the best conference in college basketball, the conference winner is going to be a 3 or 4 or 5 seed? Doesn't happen. They're going to be a 2 or 3 if they win the conference.
No. Yes. We do not get onto politics on this show. I am just saying though that if you're new to the stream because we make fun of that term. I'll leave it at that. Ben1White, your turn.
Well, we do certainly make fun of it, but to add on to Brogan's point, I think that's what I was getting at a little bit earlier, right? I mean, if you're winning the Big 12, you're clearly a 2. I think I know you said 3, but I don't know, man. I think one of the best conferences in the league, you got to be a 2 at that point. But
don't you?
Again, Yeah, you just have to be. So you look at the schedule, right? I mean, these next 3, you go 2-1. BYU should be a win. Utah should be a win. At Iowa State will be tough, and then ASU should be a win, and then at Kansas is kind of a wild card. But I kind of like Arizona in that game, Mike. I know it's quite a ways away, but you know,
no, that's the way I am.
I don't watch Kansas, and I'm certainly not blown away when I watch Kansas.
No, they look terrible. No, they look. You know what it is? It's one of the more unathletic Kansas teams I've seen. Like,
which is weird. Yeah,
right. It doesn't have a bunch of white guys, but they play like a bunch of white guys. It's an odd. I kept telling him. Do you remember when our good pal John Brogan was saying all throughout the offseason? He says, okay, guys, Kansas is so far above and beyond the rest of college basketball. They are the best team going. And you and I kept saying, John Brogan, listen, settle down here. We don't know that Kansas is that good. And it just
let me let the stream in on a little secret. Whenever Mike starts going on these rants, insert his name for whoever else he's claiming maybe. Okay.
Yes.
That's the secret decoder ring.
Yes. This is very true. Let's see here. Yes, I did say MNBA. It's a joke. All right. Anyway, I'm not going to give that any attention anymore. All right. So, here's you want to know what little faith Ben1White has in this team, though, John Brogan?
Mm-hmm.
Arizona most likely is going to play its first round games up in SRS, Smelly Rainy Seattle, and Ben1White, we said, Ben1White, you're going to come up there with us, and he's like, nope, I'm not going to come up here at. He says, I'm not going to come up there because I don't have any faith in this team. Ben1White.
I didn't say that.
We're probably going to lose in the first two rounds.
That's what you said.
Why
that's
would I
what you
waste my
said.
time?
Yes, Ben1White, that's what you said.
No, I said the Sweet 16 is more fun. You know?
Yes, it is. Exactly.
They
Our guy Lan Allen is in here. We were talking about Lan before. Lan, we've got a very nice deal from Eris Dental that's going to be coming. I am very excited to talk about this. Also, we've got Arizona Primary Eye Care coming in here as well on Monday as well. Sponsors hopping in here left and right. We like it. All right, now. So that was your look ahead. Now, let me ask you this. Arizona right now is 11-1. Oh, TJ Van Martyr, this is good. I'm stoked for the MNFL Super Bowl tomorrow. Yes. The MNFL. Very good. Okay. Now, let's look ahead then a little bit to I think worst case scenario, you've got to be 16-4? Because we should have higher expectations for this team, I think, at this point. 16-4, you're 11-1, you got 8 games left. So that means that you would go 5-3. I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm. Am I contractually obligated to be a homer since we won tonight?
No, you don't have to be a homer.
Okay. Is Arizona slightly inflated because Iowa State was missing a starter? West Virginia was missing their second best player. Who else did we just beat that was missing a player?
That's fair. But
not Iowa State. You know what I mean? Like Baylor was missing Nunn and Celestine. And so we've had a little bit of good luck when we got to play teams, but we're going to have to play a fully loaded Iowa State team on the road, a fully loaded Baylor team on the road. Like,
I can flip that right back at you, John Brogan. Arizona
we didn't have Townsend tonight. You're right. We were missing Townsend.
Arizona was down a starter tonight. You don't see us making excuses, do you?
I'm just saying. I think there's 4 losses on the schedule the remainder of the year. Worst case, there's 4 losses. If we catch a break, we go 6-3 or 7-3, whatever there's remaining, 6-3. But 4 is probably the most likely scenario.
Oh, and by the way, one thing annoying about Wildcat fans is they don't watch the NBA. Hey, that's not true. The NBA is my favorite. John Brogan and I talk about the NBA for probably a good 30 minutes per day. I love the NBA. So I will not sit here and have my name. No, I don't. I found out who Blake Lively is. Yes. I had no clue who Blake Lively is. This person, she kept coming up on my screen. And then I guess she's friends with Taylor Swift, and that's her claim to fame. Cool.
Hey, have you ever heard of Ryan Reynolds?
I know who Ryan Reynolds is.
Okay, well, that's her husband. That's her other claim to fame.
Well, right, but that doesn't mean anything to me. She's
also in movies. Like if you actually lived outside of your bubble ever, you'd know she was in movies too.
Somebody did say that she would probably look good in the AC-12 yoga pants that might be coming out here. But I did not know who she is. I guess I know who she is now. Ben1White, did you know who she was?
I knew she was Reynolds' wife.
Okay, but that's all.
I haven't seen her in a lot of movies.
Yeah, I don't know. Blake L. Lively. I don't know who. Either way, I guess I'm sorry. I guess yes, we're working on all AC-12 merchandise. Mike, chill. What I know, I'm just saying I didn't know who she was. That's all. Okay.
This is a regular. You not knowing her is the most Mike thing ever, though. We don't expect you to know her, actually.
Oh, hey, by the way, did you see Sheer what he did? Did you see the crummy move that Sheer did today? Not happy with this.
Which one?
Sheer took one of my text messages and put it out for the Twitter world.
Yeah, you should be used to that by now.
Oh, this was bad. This was bad. Did you see which one it was?
Yeah, the Townsend one?
No. It was asking what channel the game was.
Oh, that was good. Yeah,
you deserve that though, Mike.
I do that a lot. That is true.
The ESPN app and the ESPN Plus are not the same thing.
Yeah, no. And then he said ESPN Ocho. I'm like, what the heck's ESPN Ocho? I don't know what that one is either.
If it's almost a sport, it's on the Ocho. You've never seen dodgeball?
No, I mean I get it now, but I didn't know. I didn't get it at the time. So that's all I got. Either way,
you gotta watch more movies. You gotta watch more movies, man.
Hey, I'm the one that can quote like 5 movies from the 90s, every single line.
It's the only 5 you've ever watched.
As apparently. Long as he's quoting Dumb and Dumber, that's all that matters to him.
Borat. I know all of Borat's lines too. Very nice. I got Ben1White into Borat, by the way. Oh, also, you're gonna like this. Guess what I have? If you look at Mike Luke and you're probably like, it's very hard to make this guy cool. Very, very. This is true. But guess what I'm going to be wearing? Guess what I got a free pair of?
Prescription glasses?
Tom Ford glasses, my friend. Tom Ford glasses. When I went into Arizona Primary Eye Care, they told me that I needed to upgrade my glasses if I was going to be.
If you're a celebrity, you've got to upgrade your eyeglass game.
Oh, it's going to be awesome though when I come on here, and they're gonna it's going to be an attempt to make me look cool. I'm really excited about it. I'm very excited.
Hopefully, they're like bright purple or something.
No, they're black. They look good though. You're going to be very proud of me.
Upgrading the glasses game. Wow.
Never thought I'd see the day. Tom Ford identifies as a Duke fan. Is he a Duke fan? Who is Tom Ford, by the way?
Blake Lively's cousin.
Oh, whatever. Okay. All right. Let's wrap this one up here, everybody. Okay. Hey, Big 12 Bobby, 494 people are here. No one but me is hitting the like button. Come on. We got to get to 200 before it's over. Come on. Spread the word. Okay. This was a good win. I don't care what it was. I know we were down a starter. It wasn't easy being down the starter. I get it. But at the end of the day, Texas Tech's a good basketball team. I know that there's a lot of Arizona fans on Twitter saying they didn't see it with Texas Tech. That's clearly a good basketball team. That's clearly a team that's going to be able to win a number of games. Wouldn't surprise me if they were in the Sweet 16. It's a good win, guys. I don't care what it was. It's a good win, period.
It's a good win.
Go ahead, man. No, you go.
Yeah, it's a good win, and I think it's good the way it was done, right? Because it's a convincing win. You saw the way Arizona played the first time around, right? They got out-rebounded by double digits. They kind of got punked in the sense, right? And this team came out, they responded. It started with Vesar really setting the tone, started with Lewis as well, setting the tone on the defensive end. And again, the theme of this team just finds ways to win, whether it's on defense, whether it's somebody like Caleb Love having a really good scoring night. Granted, he did have 16 today, but the shooting wasn't quite there. And again, it's a reminder of where we are and how far this team has come. And this team is not only one of the best teams in the Big 12 right now, but they're playing like one of the best teams in the country right now. And you look at the schedule coming up, Kansas State is a coin flip. We'll see what happens there. But to Mike's point earlier, even if they don't win all the games that they're not supposed to win or the games that are going to be tough, that's still 4 losses and you still have a lot of margin there. And this win streak certainly helps. And it's turned around the season. We were sitting here talking 6-7 weeks ago about, is this team even a tournament team? And now they're in the driver's seat to win the Big 12. So I think it's pretty special.
Well, and Texas Tech's built for the tournament. They play physical. They play defense. They got good guard play. They can make threes. They've got all 4 or 5 guys on the court at a time that can handle the ball. And so we definitely can't dismiss Texas Tech as just, it's just an average win or anything like that. It's not like we played Cal or Oregon State or Washington State. Like, Texas Tech is a team that will win games in the tournament. And so this bodes well for Arizona moving forward. When we get to the tournament, we're going to be ready to play because we're going to be playing a ton of tournament teams.
Hey, Brogan, which has better basketball, the Thatcher or Benson?
I don't know.
Probably comparable.
It's probably comparable.
Who's the best player to ever come out of Thatcher?
I don't know that I know the answer to that.
Are you the best player that ever came out of Benson?
No.
Interesting. Well, when do you say Caleb could be NBA? I don't think Caleb's an NBA player, but I don't care about that. You know, that's the other thing. I got a pet peeve about that. I keep getting some people that are like, oh, Sainon's going to be in the second-round pick. I don't care that he's going to be a second-round pick. It means nothing to me whatsoever. I don't understand why this is an argument. Caleb Love is a better basketball player. Duh.
And look, the bottom line is there's a level of basketball where you're so good in college, but you're just not quite good for the NBA, but you're better than the rest of the world. It's Jimmer Fredette. It's Bryce Cotton. That's who Caleb Love is. He's going to be one of the best international players out there, and he's going to make a ton of money, but he's just not going to quite be good enough for the NBA, and that's not a bad thing. It's Jimmer Fredette's career. It's Bryce Cotton's. Bryce Cotton makes over $1 million a year in Australia, has like 6 MVPs, and they're actually thinking he might get a crack at the NBA now, actually.
You know, I will say this. I'm going to be, I'll be honest with you. As much as I like Caleb Love, Bryce is better in my opinion. But I get what I agree totally with you.
But it's the same principle of he's going to be too good, not good enough for the pros, but too good for anywhere internationally.
Agree. Ben1White, you don't even know who Bryce Cotton is, and
I know who Bryce Cotton is. Come on now. But I will say this, Mike, on this point, my answer is always short with it. Last time I checked, we are a college basketball program. We are not an NBA team. So to your point, I really don't care.
Yes.
And Mike, one last thing before we sign off. This is for Dick Wilson specifically. You and I both thought the Lakers completely fleeced Dallas for the Davis and Luka trade. But with Davis getting hurt 19 minutes into his Dallas career, the Lakers have won that trade for history now.
Oh, that was a Jermaine Watts question. Hey, do you want to tell your Jermaine Watts story, John Brogan, when you said that you thought you were going to play in the NBA and then you realized that maybe hoops wasn't for you?
Well, I think
we'll get to the super snaps, promise.
Yeah, I think I knew it before that point, but we were playing at Pima in the summer, and Jermaine Watts shows up, and he was running up and down the floor, easy basketball. That was my first experience of like, oh, okay, this is different. But then sort of a semi-fast break, he catches the ball at the free throw line, takes one dribble and elevates and windmills it. And I was like, okay, I should probably start going to class more, study a little harder. Basketball is probably not, in the cards for me.
No, Jermaine Watts, though, you're a real G if you know who Jermaine Watts is. Jermaine, who is better? Who did you consider? Well, let me ask you this. Deron or Jermaine?
I think Deron had more potential because he was bigger, taller, longer. But Deron was just a bad fit at the U of A.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this much. If you take away Bibby, probably Damon, and I'm probably forgetting one other one, but I'm probably taking Watts after that.
Yeah.
Compared to the better U of A guards.
Yeah. He's not JT either, but after that, it's kind of like.
JT's better for sure. But after that, Watts was it for sure.
Yeah,
Jermaine was crazy.
I agree. All right. On that note, though, let's see. Damon was mid. John Taylor, watch your mouth. Oh, WBMB 1977 being very mean to me today. I didn't realize that. No, I'm not going to even read that. I'm not going to give you the benefit of that. All right. On that note, though, we are a basketball and a football school. We all know this. Awesome. Yes. Brogan is the man. I very much like Brogan, and I like Ben1White as well. We're 11-1. Oh, got super snaps. Hold on. We got to read all the super snaps. Yeah. Anthony Norwood was good. Very good. All right. John Taylor, $4.99. Awaka eats Baggins. Yes, Girth. Let's see here. Pugs and Hugs, $4.99. Super Snap, Super Sticker. All right, what else we got? Jerry Reyes, the great Jerry Reyes. Jerry Reyes and Dennis Walsh back in the A at McHale tonight. Great win, Cats. Wop, wop, wop. All right, what else we got? Michael S. I'm done quantifying and protecting ourselves. We are good and a top 10 team in the country, and in the past, we are a top 10, and I'm scared to say it. U of A, U of A. Yes, love it, love it, love it. Young Wiz, 99 cents. Super Snap. Brett Seeley, $9.99. Back the A, back the A. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay. Michael S. Guy on the right just did the worst hedge ever. Brogan. All right. Young Wiz. How can we keep Carter from another year? Maybe I just don't have him play as well. Let's see
NIL.
here. Yes. Let's see. Jeremiah Dibble, our guy, hands on balls. John Brogan, 199. Yes, yes, yes. Michael S. Can we all take a minute and feel bad for Dickie V calling the Duke bust? I hate Duke, and it hurt me a little as a man. Michael S. Let's see here. Brett Seeley, $4.99. My son wanted $4.99 for his allowance for the girth. Yes, exactly. Very rich. Appreciate it. Robert McClassen, 11-1 in the Big 12 feels way better than 11-1 in the Pac-12. Very, very true. This is very true. Brett Seeley, has anyone ever seen Tommy Lloyd's upper teeth? I don't know, but if he goes to Aris Dental, I can tell you that Lan Allen has. How about that? Now, let's see here. Pinhead Larry, Caleb and KJ talking their she. Hype me up. Would also love to see Mike and Sheer do a podcast while stoned.
Who says they haven't already?
Yeah, you've already seen that.
Who are you to judge? Stud Show. Mike should stop eating it. Man up and apologize to Awaka. The apology is coming. The apology is coming. I do regret the twins term, although it does make me laugh. Having a big like Karnowski on the staff adds to the big development as well. Yes, it does. BAB, $4.99. Let's see here. What else we got? TJ Van Martyr. We starting to figure out our new Big 12 arrivals. Yes, we are. Okay, now who else? What else we got? Jerry B, $1.99 Super Snap. Very much appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Okay, now, hold on. Let's see. Oh, this is good. This will be a good way to end it. Okay, Bob L. Cat. I'm just saying, you say NBA for the men, and if you want to distinguish between the men and women, then you put a W. And if you think otherwise, you're young and dumb. And Mike, you're a softie. I have been called a softie. I do not agree with this term. But, Bob, we very much appreciate you coming in. Also, Lan Allen says, come on, Brogan. We had a stretch of 12 to 15 state titles. Brogan, you're being called out. Thatcher. I didn't realize that Thatcher was a hotbed.
They were amazing in the 60s and 70s and the 80s. It's all good.
Oh.
Fine.
You would. Oh,
I'm more of a recency biased type of guy.
Land. We will not allow that to. Yes. Hey, guess what, Brogan? If you ever need a really good deal on a dental implant, I'll tell you not where not to go. Right? Not going to help you out, my friend. All right. On that note, though, you guys are all fantastic. Very much appreciate you all putting up with all of this. You are the best, John Brogan. Ben1White, Cody James Martin, you are fantastic. We will be back with you on Monday. We're going to be on at noon, though, because Cody James Martin has an appointment. But, again, you guys are the best. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Woohoo!